Welcome back, crew, to another episode of Boring History for Sleep, where we take you through all of human history, but in the slowest, most monotone voice we can muster. Outside, the wind howls and rain lashes against the palace walls, but within the confines of his chamber, all is still and silent. His nurse rocks gently in a nearby chair, singing softly to lull the prince to sleep. The song is ancient, a traditional lullaby that has been passed down through generations of imperial nurses. The prince's eyes flutter closed. The melody is soothing, but his mind races with thoughts of adventure. He dreams of faraway lands and exotic treasures, of sailing ships and daring explorers. But his mother would never allow it. He knows that his role is to stay within the palace walls, to study the ancient texts and learn the ways of the emperor. One day, he will rule the vast Chinese empire, and he takes his responsibility seriously. But tonight, his restless spirit overpowers his duty. The prince pushes the silk aside and climbs down from the pillow. He tiptoes to the window and gazes out at the stormy sea. He yearns to explore the world, to see the treasures that lie beyond the horizon. He imagines himself on a grand ship, sailing through the vast ocean, discovering new lands and meeting exotic people. But his reverie is shattered by the sound of approaching footsteps. He quickly retreats from the window and climbs back onto his pillow. The door opens and his mother enters, her face etched with worry. She has heard of the fierce storms raging at sea and fears for her son's well-being. She gathers him close and sings him a calming tune, her voice a balm to his troubled spirit. As she rocks him gently, the prince feels his anxiety melt away. He knows that his mother only wants the best for him, but he also knows that her love is stifling. His dreams, he longs for the freedom to explore the world, to discover its wonders and learn its secrets. But he's trapped within the gilded cage of the Forbidden City, safe but unseen. The storm outside rages on, but inside the palace, peace reigns once more. The prince's eyes grow heavy and he drifts off to sleep. His mother's lullaby echoes in his ears, and he dreams of distant lands and adventures yet to come, because sometimes that's exactly how it feels. Now, tonight we are sailing out across the warm waters of the 15th century South China Sea, where the air is thick with the smell of salt and adventure. Well, maybe adventure if you're the one steering the ship. But for the rest of us, it's mostly just salt. Just off the coast of Nanjing, thousands of hulking junks ride the waves. All part of the Chinese treasure fleet captained by the infamous Admiral Zheng. Our humble sailor wakes before sunrise. After a night spent wrestling with other sailors for a few precious inches of cramped deck space, he scrambles up the mast to furl in the sails. The work is exhausting and dangerous. One wrong move could send him plummeting into the unforgiving sea below. But there's no time to hesitate. The fleet must be ready to sail at a moment's notice. This is no leisurely cruise. Every muscle in his body aches from yesterday's labors. But rest is a luxury he cannot afford. After securing the sails, he helps hoist in the fishing nets laden with today's catch, then rushes to help prepare breakfast for the crew. Salt pork and cabbage are today's fare. It's a monotonous diet, but the sailor is too hungry to complain. He shovels down the food, then rushes to his post as an arrow. His sharp eyes scan the horizon for signs of land or danger. Hours pass, the sun climbs higher and the sea grows rougher. The sailor struggles to keep his balance on the pitching deck. A wave crashes over the railing and soaks him to the bone. There's no shelter from the elements at sea. Fatigue pulls at his eyelids. But just as he considers dozing off, a cry rings out. Land ho! Hope surges through the sailor. Maybe now, he'll finally get some shore leave. But when the boats lower into the water, he knows this is just another diplomatic mission. Another chance to deliver tribute requests and collect rare treasures. For the emperor, not for himself. Soon the fleet is anchored in a new port, another stop on the long journey. As the sailor disembarks, he notices the local residents staring at the Chinese sailors with a mixture of awe and fear. Some of the locals have never seen a junk so large or a crew so numerous. To them, the treasure fleet is a spectacle, a floating city on the waves. But to the sailor, they are just another curious port. He's heard the same rumors about the Chinese fleet being a terrifying sight. And now, seeing it from the outside, he understands why. The sheer size of the treasure fleet is overwhelming. There are hundreds of ships here, all laden with treasure and men. It's hard to believe that any other fleet could match the might of the Chinese Navy. But then he remembers stories of Portuguese and Spanish armadas. formidable fleets that rivaled the Chinese in size and power. He wonders if he'll ever see these fabled armadas. Or will the Chinese fleet's reputation be its downfall? Back on board the flagship Zheng, the fleet's admiral surveys his ships with pride. In his hands, the treasure fleet is a tool of diplomacy, a symbol of China's power. But he knows the real story behind the fleet's creation, and it's not a tale of glory. When he was young, Zheng was a sailor like many others, working on the mighty treasure fleet. But fate had other plans for him. During a battle with pirates, he was captured and sold into slavery. For years, he endured the hardships of captivity, dreaming of freedom and revenge. Finally, his chance came when the Chinese emperor heard tales of his bravery in captivity and ordered him freed. Impressed by Zheng's story, the emperor offered him a place in his navy. So began Zheng's rise to become one of China's greatest heroes. But he hasn't forgotten the years spent in chains, the humiliation and despair. He knows the value of every man on his fleet, whether a lowly sailor or a high-ranking official. Each one has a story to tell, a life to live, dreams to chase or hold on to while at sea. Under his command, the sailors are treated fairly and with respect. He knows what it's like to be a nameless face in the crowd. So he makes sure that each sailor feels valued and appreciated. But lately Zheng has been feeling uneasy. He can sense a darkness gathering on the horizon, a storm that threatens to engulf his beloved fleet. He knows that soon the fortune and fame of the fleet will turn against him, leaving him and his men forgotten and alone. Though he tries to ignore the premonition, he can't shake the feeling that something terrible is coming. As the sun sets over the endless waves, Zheng stands at the bowsprit of his flagship. The treasure fleet spread out around him like a vast constellation of wood and canvas. He feels the familiar tug of the sea breeze on his face and closes his eyes, remembering his youth when he first joined the fleet as a young sailor. He dreamed of adventure, of exploring the uncharted waters beyond the horizon. But now, as he looks out over the dark expanse of the ocean, he sees only the cold, unforgiving reality of the sea. He opens his eyes and turns away from the darkness ahead. The time has come to make a decision. Zheng calls his officers to the bridge and lays out his plan. He'll lead the fleet home, but not without taking precautions. He orders extra lookouts and double rations for the crews. He's not sure what dangers lie ahead, but he won't take chances with his fleet. As the officers disperse, Zheng returns to the helm. He knows that soon the calm waters of the South China Sea will be replaced by the treacherous currents of the Indian Ocean. He grips the wheel tightly, determined to navigate the coming storm. His men may not remember his name, but he'll make sure they never forget his legacy. Now, back in the Forbidden City, the young prince sits cross-legged on a golden pillow, a priceless silk robe draped over his small frame. The first thing you'll regret is thinking this is an easy way to make money. When you enlisted, you dreamed of riches, spices, silk. Now you're scrubbing the deck till your hands bleed, hauling cargo nets till your shoulders scream, enduring the stench of waste that mingles with the sea spray and the stink of rotting wood. The Emperor's fleet may be marvels of engineering, but out here on the open sea, all bets are off. Officers who never look back at the teeming masses in port turn cruel and petty. Life on the treasure fleet is hard, dangerous, demeaning. Only the fools or the desperate stay for the whole voyage. So here's what you will embrace. Here you have your shipmates, men and women you didn't choose, but who now depend on you and whom you depend on. You eat together, work together, sleep together. If someone slacks off or runs scared, it's your job to keep them going. You can't trust anyone else on the fleet, not the officers, not the mandarins, not even the Emperor. Maybe you'll miss it. Maybe you won't. Perhaps the ache in your bones and the glint in your eyes have made you part of the sea. Welcome to the fleet. Some 62 treasure ships, 3,000 merchant vessels. These carry the goods of China to distant lands. The Imperial Navy is separate. Storms, yes, but other threats are lurking. There are rocks the size of mountains hidden just below the waves. There are uncharted reefs, treacherous sandbars, sudden squalls that rip sails and shatter masts. And then there are the other ships at sea, not all of them friendly. Pirates, privateers, rival traders board the flagship. The admiral is ready. His junk is armed with heavy cannons, manned by elite troops. But on the merchant ships, defense is minimal. armed guards, maybe a few swivel guns, not enough to stop determined attackers. And when attacked, the civilian crews have no choice but to flee or surrender. They've been trained to defend the riches of China, not their own lives. Its 180 warships escort the fleet, protect it from pirates, and force the Emperor's laws. He is the architect of these voyages, the man responsible for their planning, organization, funding. The Emperor gave him the task of enriching China through trade, and Wang Zheng has turned that mandate into an obsession. He wields power on the seas greater than any admiral. He decides which ships get built, where they sail, what they carry, even who gets to join the fleet and who doesn't. For 7 years, Wang Zheng has run the fleet like clockwork. Every ship has its duty, every officer knows his orders. Everything is accounted for, measured, recorded, stamped with the dragon seal. It's efficient, it's organized, it's stifling. If Wang Zheng wants something done, it gets done. And if you defy him, you will be cast out of the fleet without a penny or a scratch on your back. So a great fleet is a machine, an instrument of the Emperor's will. Those who serve on it become cogs in its mechanism. They lose their names. They gain numbers. They are no longer human beings. They are resources. How long can you endure that? How long can you be a resource instead of a person? How long can you endure the monotony, the isolation, the tedium of it all? If you last for months, you win. Most don't. Many go insane. Fewer still die trying to escape. And within the Navy, there are different units. The Grand Council, the Ministry of War, the Ministry of Revenue, each with their own officers and ranks. Then there are the soldiers, the sailors, the laborers, the clerks, the interpreters, the eunuchs, and finally, the admiral's entourage. Altogether, they number close to 100,000. Such a vast, unwieldy collection of interests makes coordination nearly impossible. But you can trust the man beside you who's doing the same work, suffering the same hardships, dreaming the same dreams of home. Loyalty becomes more than a virtue. It's a necessity. Their whips are sharp, their tempers are shorter, their drinks are heavier. That old saying, be careful of the calm after the storm, well, it's true here. Storms you can handle. Storms test your skills, demand your focus, but they also give you a break from the monotony. The calm is worse. Your eyes will squint against the glare of the sun. Your skin will smell of salt and sweat. You will walk with a slight tilt, favoring the rolling motion of the sea. Your handshake will be firm and calloused, like the grip of a rope. You will stand straighter and taller than most, having learned the value of every angle, every curve, every joint in the magnificent machine that keeps you afloat. They say the sea takes just as much as it gives, and you will bear the marks of its embrace. When the sea is placid, the skies are cloudless, and the winds are light. Tension mounts. Everyone knows a storm is coming, but no one knows when or how strong. Then when it hits, the work becomes frantic. Sails must be adjusted constantly. The ship is buffeted from side to side, and everyone is exhausted. The key to survival is to take care of yourself, because no one else will. And the biggest thing you'll regret about the treasure fleet is the Emperor himself. You will learn to tie knots that would shame a veteran sailor. You will master the lines and pulleys like a puppet master. You will read the currents and winds like an old fisherman. You will learn the language of the waves and the whispers of the sails. And if you survive, you will return home forever changed. You dream of home. The second thing you'll regret is thinking ships are exciting. Back home, taverns tell tales of swashbuckling adventure, daring escapades. You imagine storms to be glorious spectacles, maybe even some fighting. Now you know the truth. His obsession with order makes him blind to real dangers, trapped by rituals and routines that have more to do with control than common sense. The fleet may sail under the dragon banner, but its future is increasingly written by the winds. What you got is a slow, monotonous trudge across the waves. Weeks of nothing but sky and water and endless work. And when the storms come, you wish you were back in the tavern. The third thing you'll regret is thinking China is civilized. When you signed up, you heard stories of his wisdom, how he brought order to chaos, made enemies tremble. Still, if you want to survive the long months at sea, you must accept these regrets and push them down. First, you'll learn to love routine. On land, it means endless paperwork. At sea, it means life or death. Every morning brings the same ritual. Haul in the sails, check the rigging, mend the nets, scrub the deck. Each task has a set time, a set place, a set way. Soon you won't think of it as drudgery, but as the heartbeat of the fleet. Mess up the routine and someone gets hurt. Mess up the routine badly, and the whole fleet could founder. Second, you'll learn to love loyalty. Back home, you had friends, family, a guild, people you trusted. And third, you'll learn to love hardship. Forget silken spices. Out here, survival is the greatest treasure. You will suffer heat stroke and sun blisters, but you will toughen into bronze. Your hair will be streaked with gray, though you're still a young man. At night, under the boundless canopy of stars, when the moon paints silver streaks across the waves, you will think of home. But if you want to really survive, you need to understand three things. No. 1. The Great Fleet is not a single unit. It's a flotilla. Number 2. The Great Fleet is not invincible. Over 600 ships were lost on the first voyage alone, along with tens of thousands of sailors and soldiers. And number 3. The Great Fleet is not the Emperor's. It belongs to the eunuch, Zheng. In the realm where empires rise and fall like tides, there are those who shape the currents. Their names might be lost to time's deep waters, but their deeds echo in the whispers of waves. Today we dive into the chronicles of one such voyager. A man whose journey was a testament to human spirit, ambition, and the uncharted territories of our planet. Join me as we unravel the life and legacy of Ferdinand Magellan, the Portuguese explorer who dared to circumnavigate the globe. Born in 1480 in the coastal town of Sabrosa, Portugal, Ferdinand Magellan's early life was marked not by privilege, but by an unquenchable thirst for exploration. As he prepared for his journey, he faced financial hurdles that threatened to sink his dreams before they took flight. They sailed aboard the Trinidad, a vessel that would bear witness to history in the making. On September 20th, 1519, the Trinidad, along with two other ships, the San Antonio and the Conception, set sail from the Spanish port of Seville. They had sailed through the treacherous Strait of Magellan, a passage that would bear his name and forever link his legacy to the southern tip of South America. This wasn't just a navigational feat. It was a severance of old trade routes and a declaration of a new age of discovery. They had reached the Philippine Islands, specifically Guam, marking a pivotal point in their journey. In April 1521, during a skirmish with the natives on the island of Mactan, Magellan was killed and steered the Victoria back to Spain, arriving in September 1522 with only 18 of the original crew. The Victoria, laden with spices, silk, and gold, not just for Elcano's crew, but for Ferdinand Magellan's place in history. The exact circumstances of his death remain shrouded in tales and legends, adding a layer of mystique to his already heroic stature. The Pacific, once a vast expanse of isolation, now represented a gateway to the eastern riches they had envisioned. His journey was as much about expanding the horizons of human knowledge as it was about charting new trade routes. It was also fraught with hardships, setbacks, and personal sacrifices. By understanding and acknowledging these aspects of exploration, we gain a more nuanced perspective on the journeys that have shaped our world. In a world that often feels too familiar, Magellan's story encourages us to keep exploring not just our surroundings, but our own potential and the boundaries of human achievement. It was a revolution. It reshaped our understanding of the globe, catalyzed global trade, and inspired countless adventurers who dared to follow in his wake. His legacy continues to resonate today, urging us to explore, discover, and push the boundaries of what's possible. So when you hear his name, remember not just a circumnavigator, but a pioneer, a visionary, and a testament to the indomitable human spirit. This wasn't just a departure from a harbor, it was a departure from the known world. And if you have your own stories of daring adventures or historical figures you'd like me to cover, share them in the comments below. Who knows, your suggestions might just become part of our next adventure. Until then, keep exploring, keep discovering, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible, because the world, just like Magellan's journey, is full of surprises waiting to be uncovered. It's a mirror reflecting our own potential for exploration and discovery. In an age where boundaries seem blurred and exploration is often confined to the digital realm, Magellan reminds us of the tangible rewards of venturing into the unknown. His story resonates because it encapsulates the essence of exploration. the thirst for discovery, the courage to navigate the unfamiliar, and the determination to push beyond perceived limitations. Magellan's fleet was venturing into the unknown, driven by a fusion of ambition, curiosity, and the promise of untold riches. It was during this time that his name underwent a transformation, a subtle yet significant shift that would echo through history. He shattered the perception of the Earth's size, proving that the Pacific was indeed navigable and that the eastern riches were within reach. His journey laid the groundwork for global trade routes, forever altering the economic landscape of Europe. Storms battered the fleet, dwindling supplies tested their resolve, and the vastness of the ocean constantly reminded them of their isolation. His courage inspired generations of explorers, while his navigational prowess set the course for global trade. Ferdinand Magellan's story is a beacon in the annals of history, a testament to the indomitable human spirit that dares to venture beyond the horizon in pursuit of the unknown. Magellan's leadership was put to the test, not just as a navigator, but as a motivator, a counselor, and a protector. He dropped his traditional Portuguese name, opting instead for the Latin rendering, Ferdinandus, Magellanus, or simply Ferdinand Magellan. This rebranding wasn't just a matter of personal preference. It was a symbolic bridge between his Portuguese roots and the international cast of characters he was about to assemble. Supplies dwindled, tempers flared, and the immensity of their isolation weighed heavily on the crew. Yet Magellan pressed on, navigating by the stars and guided by the faint promise of land. The son of a middle-class family, his journey began with humble origins. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Magellan wasn't born into a lineage of nobility or wealth. He found himself in the bustling port of Lisbon, where fate orchestrated a meeting with a group of merchants. These men weren't just traders, they were visionaries, architects of a plan that would redefine exploration. Their dream was audacious, a voyage to the fabled eastern markets via a western route. This wasn't just about trade, it was about rewriting the very map of the world. Magellan saw in this endeavor not just an opportunity, but his calling. Instead, he hailed from a background that mirrored the rugged coastline of his homeland, strong and resilient, yet unadorned. Magellan's entry into the world was under a different name, Fernando de Magalhães, a reflection of his Portuguese roots. However, destiny had a way of reshaping names, just as it would reshape our understanding of the world. As a young man, Magellan's gaze was fixed on the horizon, his dreams set against the backdrop of uncharted seas. His sights were particularly trained on the eastern riches of Asia, a region shrouded in mystery and whispered legends. Spices, silks, and the mythical eastern gems were not just commodities to him, they were keys to unlocking a new world. It was in 1505 that Magellan's trajectory shifted dramatically. But Magellan's path wasn't paved with ease. His crew was a microcosm of Europe at the time, a blend of Spaniards, Portuguese, Italians, Germans, and English. The journey began with hope and excitement, but soon the realities of exploration unveiled themselves. As months turned into years, the significance of their journey sank in. The Pacific Ocean welcomed them with a deceptive calm. It was here that the reality of their situation truly hit home. On March 6, 1521, they sighted land, an event so momentous it was recorded by celestial clocks around the world. Yet Magellan's journey was not destined to end on a note of triumph. When Magellan fell, it was his second-in-command, Juan Elcano, who rallied the troops. Magellan's impact transcended the mere circumnavigation of the globe. He was an explorer, yes, but also a leader, a navigator, and a visionary. So why should you care about Ferdinand Magellan? Because his journey isn't just a relic of the past. Moreover, Magellan's legacy challenges us to look beyond geographical exploration. Finally, Magellan's tale is a reminder of the human cost of exploration. His journey wasn't just marked by triumphs. In conclusion, Ferdinand Magellan's journey around the world wasn't just an adventure. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more historical tales. It's easy to think of history as a straight line moving inevitably forward, always toward progress. But as we've seen, civilizations grow, change, even stumble backward. In that time, he has sent his famous eunuch Admiral Zheng on 7 monumental voyages, after tens of thousands of miles sailed, dozens of kingdoms visited, and countless treasures exchanged. Now, though, the Yongle Emperor lies on his deathbed. The vast empire he built feels his absence keenly. Among these gifts are a silver elephant and a letter from the King of Thailand, tributary to the Chinese emperor. If Zheng hopes for continued favor from the new ruler, he is sorely mistaken. For 7 times, the Yongle Emperor has commissioned great fleets to set sail for distant lands. Under Zheng, these voyages are great successes, enriching the empire and bolstering its prestige. Unlike his father, the Hongxi Emperor was a devout Confucian. By the end of the 15th century, China was importing much of its luxury goods, including things like spices and ivory. It was slow and deliberate. The Hongxi Emperor didn't destroy his father's fleet in a fit of rage or because he had been forced to. The only evidence of the treasure ships can be found in the faintest of records and the most obscure of legends. Still, every so often, a shard of porcelain, a scrap of wood, or a weathered map turns up, each one another reminder of China's forgotten age of exploration. He dismantled it methodically, systematically. In retrospect, it's easy to see why the treasure ships were vulnerable. After all, they depended entirely on the Yongle Emperor's patronage. But it's also easy to overlook just how drastic the shift was. For 7 years, China had maintained the largest navy the world had ever seen. Suddenly, it had none. For 7 years, China had sent treasure ships to faraway lands, gathering tribute and amassing riches. Suddenly, it had nothing. For 7 years, China had been at the center of maritime trade, collecting luxuries from all over Asia. Suddenly, it was importing its luxuries. The disappearance of the treasure ships was one of the most radical shifts in Chinese history. It ended China's dominance of maritime trade, its leadership of tributary Asia, its engagement with the outside world. In fact, it marks the only time in Chinese history that the empire chose to turn its back on the riches of the sea. It's hard to say exactly how much trade the treasure ships supported, but it's likely that their loss had a significant effect. Moreover, by dismantling its fleet, China was cutting itself off from the rest of the world. From news of discoveries and developments abroad, from potential allies and trading partners, China, once the hub of Asian trade, became increasingly isolated. As Zheng's fleet withered, European explorers like Vasco da Gama discovered new routes to Asia, and Christopher Columbus stumbled upon the Americas. Meanwhile, in China, the Hongxi Emperor's successors struggled to maintain control. Rebellions broke out, borders were violated, and soon the empire fractured. In fact, China wouldn't reunite until the mid-17th century, and when it did, it would face new challenges from abroad. Challenges that might have been avoided if the treasure ships had continued to sail. In fact, he took the name Hongxi, which means rule by virtue, because he believed that Confucianism was the best way to govern the empire. He wanted to restore the old ways, including the old ideas about what was important. In Confucianism, agriculture was considered the most important industry, trade the least. The scholar gentry were the highest on the social scale, merchants and sailors the lowest. So when the Hongxi Emperor took the throne, it's possible that he simply didn't want to encourage trade and travel anymore. He wanted to focus instead on farming and scholarship. Under the Hongxi Emperor, there are no new voyages. Without patronage, Zheng's great fleet is doomed to wither. By the end of the Hongxi Emperor's reign, the whole apparatus of the treasure ships is gone. Almost immediately after taking the throne, the Hongxi Emperor strips Zheng of his noble title and reduces him to a servant. As we've seen, eunuchs were generally low on the imperial hierarchy, forbidden to marry, forbidden to own property, forbidden to do pretty much anything except serve the emperor. Yet here was Zheng, a eunuch, who commanded the largest navy in the world. And if that wasn't enough, he was also wealthy, famous, and influential. Such prominence threatened the power of the Confucian elite, the scholars and bureaucrats who staffed the imperial government. In ending the treasure ships, the Hongxi Emperor could be seen as restoring the old order, putting eunuchs back in their place. Another part of the reason may have been economics. While the Yongle Emperor was generous with money, lavishing gold on Zheng and his fleet, the Hongxi Emperor was thrifty. Not only did he strip Zheng of his noble title and reduce his pay, but he also implemented austerity measures across the empire. Forts were abandoned, garrisons were reduced, and even palaces were demolished. All in all, the Hongxi Emperor was not a fan of spending money, especially on things like treasure ships. He might have felt that China had already spent too much trying to impress the world, and that it was time to spend less and save more. His salary is cut from 800 ounces of gold a month to 20 ounces of silver. Soon thereafter, the Hongxi Emperor launches a purge of his father's appointees. Zheng He's fleet is targeted along with others. Eunuchs are banished from the imperial court. Officers are dismissed, shipyards are shuttered, and the treasure ships are abruptly disassembled. Some are broken up for firewood. Others are dismantled piece by piece. Materials are recycled for other uses, and then they're forgotten. But among the most sensitive to his passing are the treasure ships. The fleet of giant trading vessels poised between the Arabian Sea and the South China Sea, waiting for their next mission. Official histories that make no mention of the treasure ships. The Hongxi Emperor goes so far as to lock away the Yongle Emperor's records, including those detailing Zheng He's voyages. In time, the memory of those great expeditions fades, and with it, the skills of building such massive ships. Over the course of his voyages, Zheng He has trained many shipwrights. Men who know not just how to assemble, but how to engineer vessels nearly twice the size of any Western ship at the time. Those shipwrights retire or die, and their techniques are not passed on. Maps, astrolabes, and foreign texts are locked away or destroyed. The Yongle Emperor's grand vision for China, his personal mandate from heaven, becomes buried in the past. In fact, the Hongxi Emperor goes to such lengths to erase his father. It's a legacy that he doesn't even bother destroying all of the records. There are simply too many boxes. Instead, he seals them up and sends them to a warehouse where they sit undisturbed for decades. The question is, there will be no next mission. With the emperor gone, the winds of courtly politics begin to shift. For China, the early years of the 15th century marked a high point, a flowering of culture and commerce. For the next 2 centuries, however, the empire would retrench, its fleet of treasure ships dismantled, its engagements with the outside world reduced. How did this happen, and why should we care? What can we learn about the rise and fall of nations from the slow unraveling of a dynasty's grand ambitions? The answer lies in one of the most compelling mysteries of ancient China, the disappearance of the treasure ships. The year is 1433. For nearly 3 decades, the Yongle Emperor has ruled China. Over the previous 3 decades, Zheng He and his massive fleet have faced opposition. Confucian ministers wary of the eunuch's influence, merchants irked by taxes, and officials unnerved by the fleet's size and cost. But through it all, Zheng, he has loyal patrons, especially in the emperor. In fact, the entire Yongle Emperor's reign is something of a miracle for Zheng He. After all, this is China in the early 15th century, and eunuchs are little more than slaves, forbidden to marry, forbidden to have children, it's forbidden to own property, forbidden to enjoy much of anything life has to offer. Yet here is Zheng He, not just a powerful eunuch, but the commander of the largest navy the world has ever known. Here is Zheng He, navigator, diplomat, explorer, plunderer, and ambassador of an empire that spans thousands of miles. He is the product of patronage, of the Yongle Emperor's personal support, who has used his influence to elevate Zheng He to unimaginable heights. The problem is, the emperor's gone, and with him, the eunuch's chief protector. As Zheng He's fleet sails back to China after his 7th voyage, he carries with him many gifts for the new emperor. The Hongxi Emperor, who is the Yongle Emperor's son. In the years that follow, new walls are built, new armies raised, and new histories written. But the biggest blow to Zheng He's legacy is the lack of new voyages. So what happened? Why did the Hongxi Emperor end his father's ambitious program? Part of the reason may have been politics, yet another part of the reason may have been ideology. Whatever the reasons, the results were disastrous. Without patrons, skilled sailors, and officials, the treasure ships fell into disrepair, and with them, China's system of tributary trade. What's amazing about the disappearance of the treasure ships is that it wasn't a sudden development, natural disaster, or an invading force. Today, little remains of the treasure ships. No grand hulls have been preserved in dry dock. No anchor stones have been discovered. No first-hand accounts exist. When we think of ancient China, images come to mind. A vast, teeming civilization, huge armies on the march, silent warriors hiding in tall grasses, wise men with long beards serving an all-conquering emperor. But where did that mighty empire live? How did its people arrange their homes and cities? What did they keep inside, and what did they keep outside? Welcome to this house. Today we're exploring the Forbidden City. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. Also stick around until the end to see a very special message just for you. The heat hits you like a wall, thick and heavy. The air is alive with the scent of spices, grilling meats, and unfamiliar blooms. Excited chatter mingles with the rhythmic calls of vendors and the murmur of the crowd. Attendants would enter silently, bearing silk robes embroidered with dragons, each thread indicating celestial order. His first meal, perhaps congee with salted duck egg or lotus root soup, was chosen by court officials, tasted first by a servant. The soft rustle of silk robes, the gentle strum of a guqin, the hushed voices of poets and painters. Ahead, the palace of earthly tranquility beckons. The time has come to explore further. For now, we must return to the bustling streets of Beijing, where the vibrant colors and sounds of the imperial city await. Who knows what treasures we'll find next? What secrets of the Forbidden City will reveal themselves to us? So here's a special treat for you, a sneak peek at what's to come. In our next episode, we'll journey even deeper into the heart of the Forbidden City. We'll explore the magnificent Hall of Supreme Harmony, where emperors held court and conducted business. We discover the intricate details of its architecture and decor, and learn about the ceremonies and rituals that took place within its grand halls. But that's not all. We'll also delve into the personal lives of the emperors who lived in the Forbidden City. We'll visit their lavish palaces and uncover the secrets of their daily routines, their hobbies, and their loves. You won't want to miss this exclusive sneak peek. So stay tuned and join us next time for more adventures in history. And as we venture deeper into this magnificent complex, we know we're in for more surprises. The Forbidden City is not just a collection of buildings. It's a labyrinth of intrigue, tradition, and art. As we move through its courtyards, we'll witness the meticulous planning, the clash of cultures, and the subtle messages hidden in every carving and painting. We'll meet the emperors and their courtiers, learn about the delicate balance of power that kept the empire running. It uncovered the stories of those who lived, loved, and died within these walls. When we finally reach the heart of the Forbidden City, we'll discover what it really means to be the Son of Heaven, the keeper of the cosmic order, the emperor who lived in a world of his own. These whispers from the past remind us that the Forbidden City wasn't just a place. It was a stage where the drama of imperial life played out day after day. Even breakfast was an event, recorded in the palace logs. Outside, a procession of ministers gathered in the Hall of Mental Cultivation. They brought reports from the province's floods in the Yangtze, grain shortages in the north, whispers from the steppe. If you've enjoyed our exploration of the Forbidden City so far, I invite you to embark on a new adventure with us. Click the link below to join us today. Together, we'll continue to uncover the mysteries and marvels of the past, explore incredible places like the Forbidden City, and bring history to life like never before. Don't wait. Start your journey today. Each kneeling official addressed the emperor with slow, formal words, head lowered, eyes averted. And while the affairs of state ticked forward with methodical calm, the inner quarters held a different kind of life. There, concubines and noblewomen lived in gilded quietude. Their days were filled with calligraphy, embroidery, tea rituals, and lessons in music or poetry. Their rank determined their influence. Their presence before the emperor was governed by elaborate scheduling, decided not by affection, but by balance and precedent. Even the air within the Forbidden City was shaped for comfort. In winter, stoves hidden beneath the floors warmed the chambers. In summer, fans were pulled from sandalwood and silk. Incense curled in the corners. Everything was arranged for ease and surveillance. No moment was truly private. Yet amidst this choreographed stillness, there was beauty. A scholar might stroll the inner gardens in the evening, past twisted pine trees and quiet koi ponds. A musician might pluck the strings of a guqin beneath a moongate, the notes lingering like mist. Even the night had its rituals, lamps lit at precise intervals, watchmen pacing with muffled steps. Exotic animals on parade catch your eye, from monkeys with their playful antics to noble elephants adorned with colorful trappings. In its grand halls, emperors made pronouncements that could tip the scales of war and peace. In its serene courtyards, mandarins contemplated poems and paintings. And in its tranquil gardens, servants found solace from the weight of the empire. It was a place of profound stillness, designed to reflect the balanced rhythms of the cosmos. The Forbidden City wasn't just a residence, it was a symbol of cosmic harmony, a physical representation of the universe itself. The Emperor, living at its center, was like the sun, the source of light and warmth for the subjects who orbited him like planets. Every detail of the palace, from the layout of the courtyards to the color of the roofs, was meticulously planned to align with the celestial order. The Forbidden City wasn't just a home, it was a testament to the belief that the Emperor was the son of heaven, chosen to rule with divine right. Crowds press against the barriers, eager to catch a glimpse of the wonders brought back from distant shores. You follow the bustling crowds, weaving between stalls laden with silks and ceramics, stopping to admire craftsmanship that seems almost magical. Finally, you reach the destination of this vibrant spectacle, a vast structure of red walls and golden roofs. This is the Forbidden City, the heart of the imperial palace. In the year 1420, an ambitious young emperor took the throne. In creaking hulls of Zheng's fleet, the waves grow still. The stars overhead soften and fade. We enter the Forbidden City. Imagine yourself walking beneath vermilion eaves, the polished stone beneath your feet still slick from the morning's dew. You're surrounded by silence, though it is not the silence of absence, but the cultivated hush of control. This is not a place of chaos or movement. It is a still lake, perfectly shaped. The salty wind whips through your hair, tangling it with the smell of brine and wood smoke. It was a world contained, a city within a city, built at the heart of Beijing to house emperors, courtiers, concubines, guards, scholars, cooks, and countless unseen hands. It was both the beating heart of the Ming dynasty and its most sealed vault. Life within these walls moved at a deliberate pace. Courtyards opened one into another, symmetrical and serene, lined with yellow-glazed roof tiles and dragon carvings. Each doorway was symbolic, each hall named with poetic grandeur: Hall of Supreme Harmony, Palace of Earthly Tranquility, Pavilion of Literary Profundity. But beneath the grandeur lay a rigid daily rhythm. Around you, sailors scurry, hauling ropes, adjusting sails, and keeping a lookout for land. Days melt into weeks, broken only by the endless cries of seabirds and the creak of timbers. Then suddenly, a cheer erupts. The lookout has spotted land, a green smudge on the horizon. Slowly it grows, revealing mountains rising from the sea like emerald giants. With renewed energy, the sailors work to guide the ship toward the welcoming shore. When the vessel finally docks, a mix of relief and anticipation washes over you. Unfurling maps, seasoned sailors and eager young officers gather close, studying the weathered lines drawn across the page. They point and discuss the route ahead, making plans and checking supplies. Soon, the crew prepares to disembark. As the ship is unloaded, you notice soldiers waiting, their armor gleaming. They scan the crowd with sharp eyes, ensuring everyone moves according to plan. After all, there are many goods and treasures brought back from afar, and great care must be taken to see that nothing is lost or stolen along the way. Hongzhi was eager to make his mark on the world. His first project was grand: inscribe his name across the horizon. As his ship set sail, he turned his thoughts to his home. That same year, the Forbidden City began taking shape. Over the next 6 decades, its foundations spread, becoming a city within a city. But how do you get to such a place? To imagine it, let us begin at the edge of the action, aboard one of Zheng's magnificent ships. The time has finally come for you to step ashore and start your journey inland. Let us now turn our gaze inland. Far from the salted winds, the Forbidden City was more than a palace.
I don't.
The Emperor might rise to the sound of bamboo flutes and distant bells. The Forbidden City stretched out like a map of the heavens, every corner and courtyard planned to bring order to the world. As we wander through its silent halls, we can almost hear the echoes of footsteps from centuries past. So now we leave the hustle and bustle of the crowds behind, passing through ornate gates that have stood the test of time. But that journey will have to wait for another time. And speaking of treasures, I have a special surprise for you. Now, if you've reached this point in the video, I know you're as passionate about history as we are.